Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
Dan is here with me this time to talk about Ninja Turtles once again. Today we're going to cover the latest 4-issue arc 9 through 12, the big Splinter and Shredder thing, and and let's go ahead and get into it. So, hey Dan, guess what?
What?
I thought this was amazing.
Me too. This was awesome.
I'm so happy with it. Okay, we're done. That's it. Go. This thing, when it started, I wasn't sure about it, and we talked a lot when we reviewed the first 8 issues about how it didn't read great individually, but once you put it all together, it was quite good. At one point, I even dropped this for a couple weeks, and then heard good things, and then I was like, oh wait, they finally did put Krang in there. I guess I better go read that. And so then with 7 or 8, I came back, and I didn't have that as much with this latest arc. I thought even individually it was quite fun.
Yeah, me too. I was really intrigued. I think for the most part, issue to issue, because for the first time in the first time I've ever experienced it, we got into the head of Splinter and kind of got to know him as a person, and they kind of just, instead of constantly saying that he's this wise master, we get to get in his head and see him fight and see why he's the master. They actually show us that, which I thought was cool. And I thought the take on him in here is really interesting, where he's sort of this angry, bitter person trying to make up for mistakes in his past life, which I think is really interesting, and I think will really be an interesting sort of relationship with the rest of the kids. Like, now that in this universe he's sort of angry, I'm interested to see what his relationship with Raphael is going to be like. Yeah,
that's you're right. That is really interesting, and honestly, I feel like everybody's just better characterized than we've seen them before. At this point, I'm going as far, and this is so weird because it's such a 180 from what I felt like when this started. I'm going as far as to saying that this is the strongest I've ever seen Turtles. Everything makes more sense. I like all the characters a lot more. Donatello is awesome.
Yes, he is.
Leonardo and Donatello have the big, giant, drag-out, knockdown verbal fight that you would expect from Raphael and Leonardo, and it's fantastic. That was probably the coolest scene out of all 4 of these issues for me, is that you've got them taking the roles of like Jack and John Locke from Lost.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you've got here, where you've got the man of science and the man of faith, and that's so cool. And then it actually gets resolved, which I really appreciated too. It's not like they have that hanging over you, where like they're gonna always be arguing about this forever.
Right, exactly. And I thought it was really interesting, especially with how, well, we didn't really see it, but I'm going to be really interested to see what they do with sort of, I mean, this is going to have to rock Donatello's world, like seeing that this stuff is true,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really expect that to be kind of a character arc for him.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think this does a really good job of taking the cliches that are in Turtles. I mean, because that's basically what it was when it first started. It's a parody. It was a parody. And it's a big bucket of cliches. And they took it and they made it in such a way where they connected all of these cliches together in a way that the connections don't seem contrived and they don't seem like cliches anymore. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And they're all still there.
Yeah.
But they're just, but you're right. They're played in such a way where it feels like, real storytelling, and it doesn't feel like a parody, really. I really dig that Splinter for a minute is considered for being a member of the Foot Clan.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Until Shredder figures out who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought all that was really neat. And, like, again, originally I wasn't real down with all of the reincarnation stuff, but it's making everything a lot more personal for everybody. Because if you think about it, before, in every other incarnation, it's like you've got Splinter, who's got this big history with Shredder. And then the Turtles are just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah.
And they kind of eventually build their own animosity toward the Shredder because of things that he does to them and to April and to the city and things. But at first, it's just, our master has this big problem with this big bad guy, and we've inherited this mess. Mm-hmm. And here, it's not that at all, because they have as much stake in this as Splinter does, because after all, they got murdered by this guy in another life. That's so interesting.
I know, and it's sort of cool that they were, well, not that it's cool, but it's interesting how they were...
They got murdered.
It's interesting that they got murdered at such a young age, and, like, it's going to be interesting how they explain how Shredder survived and everything, because that's one thing that I was wondering here, how he survived through all the years.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
But, I don't know, like... This thing, I didn't think that I would be able to read 12 issues of the Ninja Turtles origin and find it really, really compelling.
Me neither. And now I'm really glad that they did it that way. Because at first I was like, I wish they jumped past origin. I don't really need that. Mm-hmm. But turned out you kind of did. Shredder's fantastic in this.
Oh, he is. He's great. And I really liked in the last fight with him where it's exactly like the first movie where the Turtles on their own try to fight him and they fail, and then the Turtles actually are the ones that win the battle. I loved that.
I was going to mention that. That was a big deal for me because when I reviewed the Ninja Turtles movie a couple years ago, and I've always said since then, sorry, I totally rated that at least a 0.5 lower than I should have because I got so on about that. I was like the Turtles, the Turtles don't really win at the end. It's Shredder that does it. It's not really their movie, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And here it's not that, and it works because once again, it's Splinter's fight, but it's their fight as much too. And they even say, April and Casey, you need to stay in the car because this is a family matter. It's not, it's going to be too dangerous for you. This isn't your problem. It's a family matter. Mm-hmm. And I really like that. And that then they go in, and the thing is, their arc over this has been a lot about learning to work as a team. And it's not been too cliched, irritating of a thing. I mean, it really has been that. It's been, with like Raphael being gone for a while and they hadn't even met him yet, and then him coming back, and then them learning, and then them taking him in as their brother, and then like really they haven't been around very long, so it makes sense that they would have to really learn how to be a team because they honestly have to learn how to be a family. They don't even know each other really.
Right, and that's just. It's so great how they nail the characterizations with all the characters in here and make all of them sort of a lot more sympathetic than I would have thought they could have been. Where I loved especially the last line where Leonardo talks about how he's the brother who believes in miracles. I thought that was a great sort of moment for him, and
I like that too. Yeah,
that was great. And I don't know, I'm still fixed on the Splinter thing. Like that was my favorite part of this, where I don't know, I thought Splinter was a much more sympathetic character in here, where I almost find him as interesting as the Turtles, like his whole thing.
It's not just that he's more sympathetic, but it's that he's more complicated.
Yeah, it's just so it's fascinating where they sort of took. If you think about it, Leonardo to me sort of represents, because I think I heard Eric talk about this when he reviewed the 6 issues that we talked about before.
I think it was just the 4. I think 4? He had
he had the trade.
Yeah, because they've been releasing them that way in trade.
He was talking about how when you read the original Turtle comics, and it's very apparent when you read them, that Peter Laird's the guy that likes all the science stuff, and Kevin Eastman's the guy that likes the grounded Japanese kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this, I think, it's very much an Eastman thing. It's very heavy on the mythology and all the Japanese honor stuff, and it's almost saying here, I feel like, at the end of the story, we're validating the sort of spirituality of the Turtles rather than the science part of it, when Donatello's kind of gets his comeuppance, where he's the man of science and he's proved wrong at the end. And I think that's sort of telling of the direction that Eastman and Waltz took the series and where it's going to go in the future, I think.
That's really interesting. I mean, at first, I kind of thought that it was in a way sort of validating both, but I see what you're saying, and I think maybe you're right, because if you think about it, like the people that are really messing around with science are the ones that are losing.
Yeah, look at Stockman, the Shredder, Krang.
Yeah, and mutates.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Hob and I can't remember the name of the I think it was a Lopex. Was that
Alopex? Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question for you, by the way. How do you feel about them killing off Hob?
I
loved it because I don't like that character.
Did you assume he was dead? I didn't.
Yeah, he got shot. He said you're fired, and he shot him.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
they walked off. Yeah, he's dead.
I don't know. Plus, I just assumed that he might still be alive because we never saw where he got shot, and they never showed him.
They also made, and I'll tell you partly why I'm pretty sure he's dead. I mean, you could be right, but they made kind of a big deal out of it in the letters column.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I always read the letters columns because I like that they're there. And there was a guy who was asking questions about old Hob and about how they were going to use him later. And then they came back in the letters column and were like, "Ooh, you're not going to like what we did in this issue." So yeah, he's dead.
Oh, okay.
He's got to be dead. And like I said, I was kind of happy about it because he seemed like a throwaway character to me. I was sort of surprised by the amount of people, I think including you, who really liked that character, because I was sort of like, he seemed like a total throwaway guy. He was kind of a useless henchman. I couldn't really get behind him, and the first few issues it felt like he was the big bad guy, and I was kind of waiting for the real big bad guys to show up.
Yeah.
So, and plus we've seen we've seen glimpses of other henchmen that I'm hoping they use, because they had Bebop and Rocksteady in one of the micro series. So
right.
So like I'm thinking that we're gonna get to replace him with people that are cooler than him. At least funny.
Yeah.
Either way would be fine with me. Anyway, I didn't like Old Hob at all. So I felt like he was there to die, and then he died. So it's like, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. As the series went on, he kind of became the just sort of the generic thug henchman guy.
Yeah.
And I liked him initially in the series because I thought that he had sort of an interesting connection to the Turtles, where their origins were directly linked.
They do a lot with that, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they would have done more of them just because their origins were so tied, and everything else in this series was so tied to their origin, you know?
That's a good point.
I don't know. That's why I assumed that he wasn't dead at the end, but I don't know.
Well, and like I said, I mean, I guess it's possible they could bring him back, but he seemed pretty clearly dead to me anyway.
Yeah.
I have two predictions.
What are your predictions?
Well, one of them is I think Baxter Stockman is going to turn into a mutant fly.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I saw that coming by the ending of the last issue. I was like, yep,
it's injected at the end, and they're like, time, and Krang, I love Krang in this, and he's like, time for Phase 2, and I'm like, you know what Phase 2 is? Phase 2 is a bunch of mutates from the old 80s show.
Yes.
All showing up at the same time.
Yes.
I'm hoping for Slash.
That would be cool.
I'm hoping we get to see Slash. But anyway, I think he's going to turn into a mutant fly. I hope that he's not just going to be a head walking around with little spindly things like he was in the 2003 show. I hope he
will
really
be like Mr. Freeze from the new Batman Adventures.
Yes. My second prediction is that within the next arc, we're going to get a Krang Shredder team up.
I could see that happening too, especially since their goals were so similar initially.
They were. I mean, I really love this whole triad thing where it's like you have the Turtles versus a bad guy versus another bad guy. But I think it seems like things have been coalescing more and more where they're doing things where it's like, you know, honestly, in a way, it's kind of like Batman Earth 1. The more I'm thinking about it, where it's like when it starts, it's like these characters that have the names of people that we've heard before, but don't seem to be the same characters, and then as it progresses, it becomes more and more familiar. I think we got that same thing going on here.
Yeah.
As it becomes more familiar, we're going to have Shredder and Krang together, and we're going to have these characters that we know as mutates being mutates and that kind of thing.
And you know that it's because of this series, I mean, I'm assuming that Eastman and Waltz are going to continue on it, the whole Shredder and Krang thing, especially since Krang and Shredder are both so confident in this, I feel like they're going to set up some sort of uneasy alliance between them initially.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they'll be friends or anything.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And maybe not even an initial uneasy alliance. Maybe an alliance that only lasts a few issues and then they go back to where they are.
Yeah, that's true. That could happen.
That could happen.
What did you think of the introduction of the purple dragons in here? I didn't expect to see them.
I didn't expect to see them either. I thought it was neat. I like that they're not that they're not really a gang right now. I like that they're kind of neighborhood watch, or at least that's what they say they are.
Yeah, and they kind of set up the leader girl there as sort of a foil for Casey and April's relationship, I felt like, towards the end, where April sees her walking out of the house where Casey is, and she's just like, oh, hi. She didn't really know what to think of her.
I hope that they don't do any kind of a love triangle with that or something. I don't think they will.
I just think that they were trying to set it up where it was supposed to look like maybe April was a little bit jealous of her. But
yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but you might be right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought that was great. I like that they were there, and again, it's because they're mixing all these things from these different incarnations.
Yeah.
I mean, the Purple Dragons were huge in the 2003 show. They were all over the place, and they're a little different here. And I like that they've kind of evolved. Like I said, where it's like they were just kind of a bad gang, and now they're sort of better than that now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's pretty cool, and I think that Angel character could be could become a bigger thing. That she ever was before.
She could.
That's neat. Hey, we're gonna lose the artist on this, which is sad.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. I really like Dan Duncan's stuff. I think the last issue was a little rough compared to the other issues. Like there were some places where he would draw things in the background, like especially like when he would draw the turtles and like the lines I
noticed that.
Weird. Like especially, I don't know, during some of the fight scenes, like I think there was specifically a panel where like he draws one of the turtles, I think it might have been Raphael, like fighting in the background, and like, I don't know, his just entire face is just drawn strangely.
Now that I'm thumbing through it, comparatively, 11 is so polished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I was just looking at that. That last panel in 11, where Shredder and Splinter are finally about to go at it, is just phenomenal.
It is.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I got like no complaints about this. It's so good.
Me either. I'm gonna go as far to say that this is probably my favorite incarnation of the Turtles ever.
It is mine now too. I can't say enough good things about it.
I mean, if you guys, any of you guys out there listening, are at all interested in the Ninja Turtles or are Turtles fans already and are kind of skeptical about this, I mean, this has stuff for every sect of fans from any incarnation to enjoy. They put everything in here. I mean, if you're a fan of the 80s show, you'll love this. If you're a fan of the 2003 show, you'll love this. If you're a fan of the comics, you'll love this. It's just fantastic.
It's got movie stuff. I want to restate something that Eric said in his review of the first volume of this, which is that it's more adult than a lot of Turtles things have been able to be because of what it is, because it's a comic book.
That was a very good point. I remember him making in the video.
Yeah, but he also said that there's nothing in it that would really repel kids or repel parents from letting kids read it either.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a couple dams and things here and there, but for the most part, like.
Yeah, see, this is a good example of what comic books should be written like.
I think so.
Accessible for kids, but enjoyable for adults. I mean, there's stuff there for both people. And
it's a lot more
truly an all ages book.
Yeah, but you wouldn't ever want to put that on it.
Right.
It's not a kid. It's not a kiddie book. Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks a lot, as always, for watching the Comic Book Vault. Dan, thanks for coming on and helping me review things, as always. I sure appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. I love being here.
And I'm sure Dan will come back with me here very shortly to review something else. Don't know what yet. Dan and I have been talking about doing some older stuff together too, so I want to bring him in for some of the older vaults also. So we'll do that sometime soon. Everybody, remember that the Comic Book Vault is a vast, wondrous wonderland of comic books that you can donate stuff to if you'd so like to. If you got anything laying around that you want to see me or Vince review on the Comic Book Vault, all you got to do is send it to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
And we'll see you next time.